This film is like a mixture of serial killer H.H. Holmes, Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door, the autobiography A Child Called It, I Spit on Your Grave, Eli Roth's Hostel, and even a little taste of tea in Get Out. Sounds pretty great, right? Well, it's better than that. Hello everyone and welcome to Nocturnal Horrors. Martyrs is a 2008 film from director Pascal Laugier, and it is a hard-hitting one to say the least. It's about a young woman who seeks revenge on her kidnappers with the help of a close friend and the extreme experiences that this causes. But to say this is just another rape revenge movie is absolutely preposterous. As brutal and gore-filled as this film is, this isn't torture porn. Oftentimes, torture porn has no real reasons behind the pain and agony. Martyrs has purpose. There is a reason for the torture, and the pain and the reasons are big. This movie just has so much more going on in it. It's a legit look into PTSD, the severity of mental illness, manifestations, and the struggle within the mind and the body and all that it can actually accept and withstand. It's about the search for answers and the fear of the unknown. It's about trust, family, relationships, and guilt. It's about pain, both mental and physical. You don't really see the plot points coming either, which is great. These aren't twists, not plot twists. They are plot points, and they are phenomenal. There are multiple stages in this film where you wonder where they're going to take you next, and then when they take you there, you're like, okay, I'm on board for sure. The relationship between the two lead characters is a fascinating one. There is plenty of love, family, and so much more between these two that is hard to compromise. There's pain, compassion, guilt, understanding, and a link between these two that cannot be undone no matter what they do, whether they do it to someone else or whether someone has done it to them. Martyrs visualizes mental illness in an utterly terrifying way. A lot of times you can get this type of movie and the motivation behind the antagonist isn't something overly compelling. It can be one of those quick backstories of, oh, he was abused and sexually molested as a child, and then he goes and does all this crap because of it. Or it can be an overprivileged asshole who gets his kicks using some sort of date rape drug. And then of course there's the rape in the woods where you have these sort of inbred characters who just want to put their penis in things. As you can see, the motivation isn't always too intriguing. Martyrs is completely unlike that. There is motivation and purpose behind both the antagonist and protagonist that we haven't really seen before. What's even better is that you can understand both of these motivations from both types of characters. That's what really makes a great film, is when you can completely understand why someone does something, whether it's a good or bad person. And that's kind of twisted considering the really, really dark things that happen in this movie, but it's crazy what a little motivation will do for someone. I'm actually really fascinated by motivation within this film. You can look at motivation within a 3-act structure for this film and say Act 1 is about the motivation of the young woman who seeks her kidnappers out. Act 2 is all about the friend and her reactions and motivations. And Act 3 is the antagonist's motivation and why we're here in the first place. All 3 of these acts are powerful, but Act 3 is the accumulation of all of them, and it really ramps things up. This is a great film. Not just a great horror film, not just a great horror French extreme film, a great film. For lack of a better word, it's got a lot of soul. What does it actually take to become a martyr? The acting is great in this film. They are put in extreme conditions throughout the entire film, and there is a lot of chaos that they have to get through emotionally. And honestly, I don't know how you can do that day in and day out on a shoot. That has got to be exhausting. So kudos to all the actors. I really hope all of the actors in this film went on to do a nice romantic comedy so that they could balance their lives out, because this was insanity. Okay, let's get into the craziness that is Martyrs a little bit more. As I said, I absolutely love how this film portrays PTSD. It's got this weird supernatural vibe going on with Lucy, but then you realize it's probably all in her head, and then when you realize that it's all in her head, it is even scarier because whether it's real or not, the actions that she does is real. And I really think that this portrayal of mental anguish really separates Martyrs from other films in the same way that perhaps The Babadook does. And I thought it was a great plot point that Lucy was not the main character throughout the entire film. I love how they switched it to Anna. It's not an easy thing to do in movies. Yeah, of course you got the obvious Psycho and the switch from Marion Crane to Norman Bates, but that is not an easy thing to do, and one of the reasons why that works so well is because we are so fascinated by Norman as a character. Well, the same goes here. At that point, we're not necessarily completely fascinated by Anna, but it's the decisions that Anna makes before Lucy dies that makes us carry on with her. We want to see where these actions take her, and they take her somewhere for sure. I just think Anna's whole arc is incredible. From her growing up in some sort of dysfunctional family to taking care of Lucy as a younger girl, and then growing up to fall for her, and then growing up further to really help her in the revenge plot, although not fully on board, she does it anyways. And then after Lucy dies, kills herself, Anna really has to deal with some inner demons on her own. She's got all that guilt going on. She's got all the craziness that's going on around her with all the deaths, what she's gonna do with the bodies. Then one of them doesn't even die right away. And then she goes through the whole experience that Lucy did. And everything that Lucy said was happening, she gets to go through. It is an insane arc. The amount of guilt that this woman is going through after she finds out that Lucy was telling the truth the whole time, it is devastating. This is a miscalculation that really ends up biting her in the butt. Martyrs is just so hard-hitting, and I do enjoy a good action sequence, and this one really delivers. But what makes Lucy's killing spree so dynamic is the build-up to it. The way that they take their time to really introduce the mother and the husband and the two kids and their goals in life and what they're going through during their current day. And we just see their regular, normal, everyday life. And they really build that up as if we're gonna be with these guys throughout the entire film. And then Lucy just comes right through the door and puts that shotgun to everybody. And it is powerful. Such a freaking great sequence of events. And what about Act 3? I mean, holy crap. I just love the progression of the experiments. I love how back in the day when Lucy was involved, they were in like an abandoned warehouse that was just completely dilapidated and it was super old school with the tortures. And then they learned from their mistakes, they progressed over time, and then they're in this sleek, modern, underground tunnels with photographs up of all their inspirations, shall we say. It's just such a different vibe from Act 1 versus Act 3, and that's a really cool thing to do. But the torture and the pain and the mental anguish is all the same. It's such a nice touch that they have their pseudo-successes on the walls, framed for everyone to see as they walk down that corridor. And I love that they really went into what each photo was. I thought that was a nice way of really highlighting what they were trying to do there. It's just different. With all this being said, it's just a place where they have to eat weird green gruel and get the living shit kicked out of them until near death or death. The reasoning behind the antagonist's motivation is so fascinating. I mean, if I was a cranky old dude who had a ton of money but really had a ton of regrets and failures throughout his entire life and was just so scared crapless out of what was to become of him after death, I might be paying this little group here to find out what happens after we leave this earth. Do I want a bunch of people getting tortured and murdered and maimed and killed and all that? Hell no, that is awful and I would never want that on anyone. But I would pay a little bit of money to find out what's in the afterlife. I mean, we can't just live with a Ouija board 24/7, can we? We can't just be doing seances every day to find the higher powers or to talk from those that are beyond. Maybe we can, I don't know. But still, I don't want to waste all my life trying to figure out what's after life. Gotta live life a little bit, right? This was a very, very well done, disturbing film. I highly recommend checking this one out. It's not for the faint of heart. People should really see this without knowing anything and just get hammered by it.